Today is February 22nd, 2026, and we have had an Alabama LifeSaver crash. Another one, this time out of the Evergreen, Alabama area. Stick around for the quick update, and I'll be right back. This particular helicopter is a 2014 Airbus H-130 T2 model, otherwise previously known as an EC-130. It's a single-engine helicopter with a pilot sitting front and left, with a flight paramedic and a flight nurse sitting in the back, and the patient on a sled system to the pilot's right and in front of the med crew. Now, this helicopter is widely recognizable by its big bubble glass fuselage, originally designed that way for great tourist viewing, but also has the very recognizable giant fenestron tail that you might also see on an EC-135 or on an H-145. So let's jump right over here to the ADS-B data, and we can see that they picked up a patient somewhere north of Florida. Their ADS-B data is a little sketchy, and transported down here to Pensacola to this Ascension Hospital, which is a large children's hospital with OB and pediatric capabilities. Looks like they drop off their patient, and looks like they're really only there for about 20 or 30 minutes. And then they hop over to Pensacola International Airport here, most likely to refuel for the trip home to their base in Evergreen. Now, they're only there at Pensacola International Airport again for about 20 minutes, getting fueled up before they head towards home. And it looks like they take off here at about 20:34 Zulu, which I think is about 2:30 p.m., 14:30 local time. And they climb just fine. They get up to what looks like about cruising altitude of about 700 feet MSL, and I think it's about 150 feet in elevation for most of this trip back to their base in Evergreen. And they're not really, they're not really flying very high. They're kind of cruising, it looks like about 500 or 550 feet above the ground, and about 9,700, 110 knots, it looks like. I mean, they're doing okay, and then about 16 minutes into their flight, their ADS-B data just drops off, and this is nowhere near their base or where they crashed. And you could switch over to even to flight radar, and it drops off in a different location, which is kind of bizarre, but they are out there in the middle of nowhere, and the ground antennas for the ADS-B system, maybe few and far between out there, but you would think that it would have picked back up as they got closer to their base here in Evergreen, which is much more populated. But either way, now they actually crashed in Evergreen, like right near their base while trying to land. And you can see their base here on this Google Maps. They're basically just on the south side of Evergreen Medical Center here. You can see their base. It's right there. You can see their landing pad, and they're in this tiny little house here, this little mobile home type quarters for them. And we can go to the ground level and even see that you can see the aircraft sitting right there on the pad there. But as we back out just over here to the west, I believe really just across the main entrance to the hospital right here, you can see this house, and we can zoom into the street level here. Yep, that's the house. So it's a little bit different paint job, but you can see that that's the same exact house. So they basically crashed directly across the street from their base into the yard of this house. Man, what a terrible, terrible situation. Now, you can see here in these pictures that were shared with me that it was a substantial impact, but it doesn't look like there's any post-impact fire here, which again is another great testament probably to this being a T2 model, which does have a crash-resistant fuel tank. Otherwise, we could possibly be looking at a far worse outcome. And from what I understand, now it sounds like 2 members, including the pilot, were transferred to a larger facility for more serious but non-life-threatening injuries, and another crew member was seen at a local facility and released without any injuries. I understand that they are all stable at this time. I will update you guys with any new information that comes my way. Now, in case you were wondering, yes, this is the same flight service that I did a story on last year who did have a fatal crash on April 2nd, 2023 in Chelsea, Alabama, also in an H-130, that time with tail number November 231 Sierra Hotel. Now, if you recall in that story, I told you that Alabama LifeSaver had a storied history with the Bell 407, and their pilots loved that aircraft and their med crew, and everybody felt very comfortable in it, and there certainly was some documented dissent from the pilots and the med crew at Alabama LifeSaver about the safety of the H-130, at least from their point of view for their service And more importantly, the level of comfort and overall access to training resources that the pilots had for the H-130s, especially for all the pilots who had a plethora of hours in the Bell 407. Now, I do believe that following that crash on April 2nd, 2023, that Air Methods did listen to their crews and replaced all of the H-130s at LifeSaver back to the Bell 407 that they had, with the exception of one base, and that base would be LifeSaver 5 out of Evergreen, Alabama. Now, that base was sort of a different group of people from the original LifeSaver bases, and Air Methods, for one reason or another, they did not replace the H-130 at that base and kept them in the H-130. In fact, at the time, on August 13th, 2023, an AIDMOR was submitted. Now, remember that an AIDMOR is basically, like an internal reporting system that is supposed to function as a safety reporting system so people can report things without fear of retaliation and then have that incident or event or issue followed up by the appropriate people, and they can track it. Now, anyway, this AIDMOR was filed on August 13th, 2023 on this very aircraft. As you can see here, I have a copy of the AIDMOR, and right there's the tail number, November 237 Sierra Hotel, the EC-130T2, otherwise known as the H-130. And you can see up here at the right, or you can see right here with this event summary that they reported that during landing at the airport, refueling, the pilot did an abrupt maneuver that caused the aircraft to spin 360 degrees with the nose down, and the crew members felt unsafe to fly back from the airport. And this note up here at the top is very specific, that says that this pilot was recently back from Denver, which is Air Methods headquarters and training headquarters, and went to get current in an H-130 and was a previously very experienced pilot in the Bell 407. Now, do all the issues that I reported on in that previous story have anything to do with this crash? I don't know. I don't really think that it's important right now, but the point is that this service, specifically these issues with the H-130, have been a documented issue at this service, specifically at this base and with this aircraft. And if you recall from that story, there was even specific communication from the flight crew at other LifeSaver bases to the CEO of Air Methods before that previous fatal crash happened, where the CEO never responded to the email complaint until after that fatal crash took place. Now, the NTSB will certainly be on scene of this accident to determine if there was a mechanical issue with this aircraft, or with the maintenance, or if there was a training issue, or if there was another issue related to slow speed and winds and loss of control of the aircraft, which is what happened in that last fatal crash that I told you about. But we shall wait and see for that. And, for now, that's all I have for now. And y'all fly safe, and we will see you next time.